Here at Invest Brilliantly, we talk about things that you can do to make your life better. That's what our goal is, right? So you can live a better, richer, fuller life for yourself and your family. And so that's what we'll be talking about today. I'm going to be sharing some exciting information with you too. That's probably going to be kind of uh, eye-opening for some of you guys, and I think you're going to find it very intriguing. I'm sure that you will. I also want to mention that today, our show today is brought to you by the Note Investor University, and you can go to noteinvestoruniversity.com to learn more about investing in mortgage-backed promissory notes over there. And that's a part of what I'll be sharing with you today as well. So, one of the Invest Brilliantly goals is to really spread the word because when you think about it, we are not taught in school how money works, right? And I've thought a lot about that because most people have no clue. And I think the reason that we're not taught in school how money works and how the money game is played is because teachers don't know. I don't want to make it sound like I'm dissing on teachers, but they don't know. If they knew, they'd play the game differently and they wouldn't be struggling, starving teachers. Um, so you don't know what you don't know. And so therefore, it's not taught. The other reason that it's not taught, in my opinion, financial intelligence is not taught, is because, frankly, I don't believe that our leadership wants us financially astute. I don't think they want us to know how money works and how the game is played. I think they like having control of the game and keeping everybody else out of it. I think that's what they like. And so they create this whole educational system around teaching people to become an employee. Nothing wrong with that, but being an employee rarely will make you wealthy. You see, because it's not designed for that. It's designed to make you a cog in a wheel that runs a machine that makes somebody else rich. and I broke out of that system, and I want to help you guys break out of that system too. Okay, I think you're going to like this. So as I said, my name is Desiree Inez. A little bit of background for those of you that don't know me. If you're new to our community here, I want you to know that I've been in real estate since 1980. I'm 70 years old. I'll be 71 years old here in just about less than 60 days. And I've been in real estate since 1980, and I've made a fortune in real estate. I've also lost a fortune multiple times in real estate. And so I don't see real estate these days as a brilliant investment. It's a good investment, but I don't see it as a brilliant investment as a standalone vehicle. However, real estate combined with note investing and also with infinite banking policies, it becomes a brilliant investment. And we're going to talk about those kinds of strategies here. I also want to just tell you guys that it really is about what you got going on up here. I know that everybody comes to my program and programs like mine, and they want to learn all the secrets of, what does it take to become wealthy? What does it take to get out of the rat race? Well, I'm going to tell you, it starts right here. I don't know what kind of an investment you're making in your own mind, but you need to start looking at that and saying, okay, my number one most important investment, as far as investing brilliantly, is going to be investing in my mind. Now, there's a million things that you can learn out there. So hopefully what you'll do is, use a little common sense as you're investing in your own mind. Don't try to learn too many things. Learn one. I learned a long time ago that I'm far better off focusing all of my efforts on one project until I get it dialed in. And then I can add a second project. Too many times when I was younger, and I see it too many times right now, even with my students, they're trying to do too many things. And so that just doesn't really work that well. You're far better off saying, okay, let me just focus on this. Let me get busy on this. Let me drill down on this until I become an absolute expert in this and I can do it in my sleep. And make that happen fast, by the way. Don't let that drag out. Just dive in. And then once you've got that dialed in, then you add a second thing. And you do the same thing again. You repeat the process. And then you add a third. And that's exactly how I have built my personal fortune. Okay. I wasn't doing that before I turned 60 years old. I was out there hustling, grinding, and doing what everybody else does. push, push, push. And every new deal was a big deal. But what I've learned is that really what we want is we want to have financial freedom. And financial freedom doesn't come from doing deals like that. I used to flip a lot of houses, for example, and I've made as little as like no money flipping houses, and I've made as much as $150,000 flipping one house. But all that ever did to me was gave me a lump sum of cash, but that never gave me freedom. Financial freedom comes from something different than having lump sums of cash. Financial freedom comes when you have income that comes in, whether you go to work or not. Now, I don't know how much money you make on your job right now, guys. You know how much you make, but suppose you could have that amount of income coming in at every single week or every 2 weeks or every month, but you don't have to go to work to get it. You literally would be financially free at that point because you can sustain your lifestyle just like you do now. Don't have to give up any standard of living, and you don't have to go to work either. So you are literally financially free at that point. So financial freedom to each of us is a little different based upon what I call our financial freedom number. Maybe for you it's 5,000 a month, maybe it's 7,000 a month, maybe it's 3,000, maybe it's 15,000 a month. Doesn't matter, because if you learn some of the strategies that we talk about on this program, it's all there for you. Okay. So here's what I want you guys to do today. I'm going to be sharing with you guys some information about a process known as private lending, because it's a way that you can create passive income into your own life without changing the things that you do on a day-to-day basis, right? That's the key. You don't want to have to change your life around in order to accomplish this. And so let me share my screen with you. I'm going to show this to you, and then we'll talk about it. And by the way, if you have questions or anything, you can feel free to enter those questions there in the chat or wherever it is that you see an opportunity to enter the questions, and I'll be happy to answer them. Mr. Producer, you can get those questions, and you can get those questions over to me, get them into our chat so that I can see them, and I'll be happy to answer them as we go. Okay, but I'm going to share my screen right now and talk to you a little bit about today's strategy, which is private lending. Okay, so let me see here. Here we go. All right. So the reason that I call private lending your portal to financial freedom is because you need to have a way to become financially free. Everyone needs to have that if they're expecting to become financially free. And I believe that private lending provides an opportunity for people to do exactly that, especially you younger people. This is something that you should be doing regularly. Okay? Regularly. Let me show you how this works. If you're trying to obtain financial security, what you want to have, most people think that what you want to have is a healthy savings account. And so people go out there, work hard to save money. But the problem is that money is not working. If you're just saving your money in a bank account and it's sitting there every month, maybe you're earning an interest rate with the bank, but there's so many other things that you can do. I think of money today as employees, right? If you have $100, you have 100 employees. Are you going to let them sit around and do nothing? Or are you going to put them to work? And that's the question that I ask myself on a regular basis. If you want to have financial freedom, then you're going to need to have a source of income that doesn't depend on you going to work. And that's called passive income. The best way to get passive income is to have your money making money. If you know how to put your money to work to make money for you, it's pretty darn amazing how quickly you can start to become free and freer and start to feel so much better about what's going on in your life. So, private lending. Think of yourself like a bank, right? The First National Bank of you, okay? Here's why you want to do private lending. It's very safe. Your money is growing, and you can have passive income coming in month after month after month for the rest of your life as a private lender. That is called freedom, right? So let me show you something here. Rather than trying to become an investor, I want you to consider becoming a private lender. Think about this. If you want to become an investor, and let's just say that your goal is to become a property flipper like I used to be, right? That was my goal when I was in my 20s. Oh, I want to flip houses, right? And so I was buying ugly houses. I was fixing them up. Spent a lot of time at Home Depot and Lowe's, a lot of time, right? Uh, but if you want to be an investor like that, then you're going to have to master a skill set, right? I didn't just flip houses. I had to learn how to flip houses and I had to become good at it before I actually started making good money at it. And just like everything else in life, if you're no good at it, you're not going to make very much money at it. But in addition to that, if you want to be an investor, you're going to have a team of people around you to help you do your deals. You can't do everything yourself. You're going to have to spend a lot of time researching to find new deals. You're going to be making a lot of offers. I used to make upwards of 10 plus offers to buy real estate every single week. That's 40 to 50 offers a month. And that's just to buy one house. So I was looking at all these houses. I'm driving around. I'm writing up contracts, making offers. Nobody's accepting my offers. That's part of the game if you're trying to become an investor, especially in particular, a real estate investor. You have to negotiate with multiple parties, right? You're always negotiating something. I was negotiating with not just with sellers selling their houses. I was negotiating with contractors. I was negotiating with inspectors. I was negotiating with title companies and other vendors to try to get better pricing and better fees. You're always negotiating. It's a real grind. You have to satisfy the lender's demands because unless you're paying cash for all your real estate, you're going to be uh, borrowing money from a bank or something. So you got to meet those requirements. You're going to have to manage the project. You got to resolve all the problems. You got to hire and fire and train and supervise all the people working on your projects. You got to manage selling and disposing, exiting the project. Right? You got to deal with that whole process. You got to maintain financial records for your project. You have to pay all the expenses and all the invoices. All that's a part of what you do when you are an investor. And guess what? When the projects, when your project actually gets sold and you exit the project, you are the last to be paid. The appraiser is paid before you. The attorneys are paid before you. The realtors are paid. Everybody's paid before you. What's left is yours. And hopefully it's worth your time and effort. So that's what it takes to be an investor in whatever you're going to invest in. Now, let's look at a private lender. Here's what a private lender does. A private lender basically reviews a loan request from an investor, right? The investor says, I'm an investor. I'm going to flip this house and I need to borrow some money. So the private lender, you can use your retirement account. You can use, like your IRA, your 401k. You can use your savings. You can use equity in your real estate. Maybe you have equity in your house. You can use any of that money to become a private lender. And I'm going to show you some examples of that today. But your job is to review the loan request that the investor brings to the table. Then you have to decide what terms do you want for using your money. That's right. You make that decision. You say, hey, I want 12%, or I want 14%, or I want 10%, whatever. You decide how much do you want to make if you're going to allow this person to use your money. Isn't that cool? How much of a monthly payment do you want if you're going to allow this person to use your money? You can literally decide on that as a private lender. You provide the paperwork for the transaction. As a private lender, you want to provide the paperwork because you want to make sure it's written the way you want it to be written. And it's written to protect your interest. So you're going to provide the paperwork to the buyer to sign, to the borrower to sign, and then you're going to fund the deal if you like it. If you don't like it, you're going to say, nope, I'm not funding that deal. But if you like it, you'll fund the deal. You write a check. And you have no responsibility to the property. You have no responsibility to the borrower. You have no responsibility to the vendors or the regulators or the inspectors. You have nothing to do with any of that. You're the bank. You're the lender, right? The investor does all the work. The investor makes all the trips to Home Depot. They do everything. They meet the inspectors. They meet the appraisers. They do all that stuff. They find a buyer to take them out of the project. The investor does all that work, but you get paid as a private lender. Isn't that cool? I mean, once I discovered private lending, I was like, wow, That's where you want to be. And here's the best part. As a private lender, you get paid first. You're the first one paid. You're paid before the appraiser. You're paid before the title company. You're paid before the lawyers. The lenders get paid first. The investor gets paid last. That's why you want to do private lending. Okay. So, First National Bank of You, how are you feeling about that? You're going to loan money. You're going to decide on what those terms are. You're going to require collateral, right? The real estate that you're investing on is your collateral, meaning that if they don't pay you, you get to take their deal away from them. The borrower does all the work. You get your money back with interest. And it's a great way to invest. You have financial freedom. Someone else is doing the work and you're getting paid because your money is literally working for you. So let me show you the last house that I ever flipped. It's right here in San Diego. And I'll show you how I used a private lender on this. Now I am a private lender for other people doing this, but at that time I used a private lender. So here's how it looked. This is a property here in San Diego County, California. And here's the story behind it, right? I call this the case of my brother's keeper. There's a gentleman living in the house with his mom. He only had one arm. His mom died, and he and his sister inherited this house. He wanted to keep the house because this is where he lived. His sister wanted to sell the house because half the money is hers. Okay, so that was their dilemma. And so I offered to buy the property from them. I said, I'll pay you $250,000 to buy this house. I'll pay you cash. I estimated from my contractor that it was going to cost me $75,000 to renovate it. That's what we thought. We said that once it's all fixed up, it should be worth about $430,000. It was in a popular part of town. It was in a low crime area. The title to the real estate was clean. So I thought, let's do this deal. So I offered them $250,000. They took it. And we pulled the trigger on this thing, and I got started working on it, and it worked out pretty well for me. Let me show you something here. I paid $257,500 all in. You know, I had some closing costs and stuff like that. So I paid $257,500 all in. I paid all cash. I had to buy the property as is, but they wanted me to close in 7 days. Now, let me tell you something about borrowing money from banks. You can't close in 7 days if you're going to try to go get a mortgage to borrow money from a bank. If you've ever tried to get a mortgage, you know it took a lot longer than 7 days, right? That's just how it works. So if I was going to close this deal in 7 days, I need to find somebody with money that could get it to me in a week or less. And so that's why I went to a private lender. So I found a private lender that said that he would lend me $300,000, 70% of the after repair value. Remember, after the house is fixed up, it's going to be worth $430,000. So he said, okay, I'll lend you $300,000. And that's what he did. He gave me $275,000 at the time that I bought the note, at the time that I bought the property, so that I could buy the property and start the work. And that's exactly what I did. And then at the first milestone, after I got so far into the project, he gave me another $15,000. And then at the second milestone, he gave me the last $10,000. So that's how I actually got the money delivered to me. He charged me 8% to use his money, and he also wanted 10% of the profit that I made when I sell the house. That was the deal that we structured. Was that a good deal for him? You think? I think so. What do you think, Mr. Producer? Good deal, right? So I told him, look, since this house is going to be empty, there won't be anybody living there while I'm renovating it. I don't want to have to make monthly payments to you. And he said, that's fine. You can wait till the end to get paid. And he said, you have a year to get this house renovated and resold. So we did a 12-month mortgage and note against this property. Okay, that's what we did. 12 months. So here's what happened. That's a picture of the house after the work was done. Looks a lot better, doesn't it? A lot better. Very nice little house. I always put flags in front of the house, the United States, the U.S. flags in front of houses that I renovated. I think that just, I love this country. And so I like to just show that off. So we put up a flagpole, went through that house. and renovated it. It cost us $85,000, not $75,000. It took 5.5 months in and out on this whole transaction to finish the renovations and to get it sold. Once we put it on the market, it's sold immediately, right? It's like boom, brand new inside, right? New kitchen, new bathrooms. We really fixed it up very nice. New flooring all the way through. We put a new roof on the house. I mean, just fixed it all up. New garage door, as you can see. After the dust settled, we sold it for $425,000 and made a $41,000 profit on the deal in 5.5 months. So that's how that deal worked out for me as the investor. Okay, let's see how it worked out for my partner, the lending partner. He put up the $300,000, so he earned 8% interest on his money, which was $11,000. He also got 10% of the $41,000 profit because that was our deal. So he made a total of $15,100, and he made that in 5.5 months on a $300,000 investment. You put that into a financial calculator, and you're going to see that works out to be an annualized return of 11%. Now, is that a good return for my investor? You doggone right it is. He's thrilled, right? He made 11% on his money, and all he had to do was write a check. I did all the work. I was out there for 5.5 months dealing with this thing. I was making 100 trips over to Home Depot and all that stuff. And he made his money made $15,000 for him. Right? And I know he used a retirement account for that. So if you have an IRA or 401k, you can use that for this kind of thing. So that's the first case that I want to share with you guys. But I want to share this with you too. For those of you that don't know this, I invest in mortgage-backed promissory notes. And what that is where you buy someone's mortgage payment. That's what I mean by this. So like, let's say when you go to buy a house, just for example, when you go to buy a house, if you don't pay cash for that house, then what's going to happen is the bank is going to have you sign a mortgage, and they're going to have you sign a promissory note. Promissory note is basically an IOU. That's all it is. It says, I owe you money, and I promise I'll pay you back. And the mortgage basically says, if I don't pay you back, you can take my house. So those are the two most important documents that the lender is going to have you sign. Well, guess what? You can buy the mortgage from the bank if they want to sell it. They'll sell it to you, or they'll sell it to me. You could literally buy the mortgage on my house, or I could buy the mortgage on your house. And that means if I bought the mortgage on your house, every month when you pay your mortgage payment, you're going to send it to me. Okay, that's what happens if I buy the mortgage on your house. So what I'm going to show you now is an example of that, okay, and how to use that as a private lender. So we call note investing, mortgage note investing, we call that distressed paper, right? We call that investing in paper. There's two types of paper that you can invest in. There's performing paper, and then there's distressed paper. And I'm going to show you an example of distressed paper. Distressed paper is paper where the homeowner is not paying their mortgage payment every month. And you may say, why in the world would you want to buy a mortgage where the homeowner is not paying their payment? And I'm going to show you exactly how that works. Okay. I call this the case of the Georgia peach. Okay. And literally, we can use this to flip mortgages just like you buy ugly houses and flip them. You can buy an ugly mortgage, buy ugly paper and flip it. So let me show you how this worked out for me. Okay. Here's a picture of the house that I didn't buy. I didn't buy the house. I bought the mortgage on this house. It's just a plain looking house, not even cute in my opinion, just a plain looking house in Atlanta, Georgia, about 10 minutes from downtown Atlanta. The as-is value of that house, according to my real estate agent, was $80,000. Just like it sits, she said, oh, we can sell it for 80 grand, just like that. However, if I was to go in there and renovate this house, she said we could probably sell it for $200,000. Now, I'm in San Diego. This house was in Georgia. I had no intentions of renovating it. Okay. So that was off my plate. That wasn't even on the plate. This was an area that was low crime. It had no past due taxes. The title was clean, and the community was popular. There were a lot of houses like this and smaller houses over there in this community that were being purchased, and people were fixing them up, making them very nice. This one was the ugliest house on the block. Okay. And to top it off, the house was vacant. Remember, I said this was a distressed paper here. This was a distressed note. The house was vacant. I don't know how long it had been vacant at the time, but I do know this. The homeowners had not paid their mortgage payment in 2 years. They owed $130,000 to the bank that I bought this from. If they were making payments, their payments were $948, but they hadn't made a payment in 2 years. And they still had 21 years left to pay on the mortgage when I bought it. So I was offered this $130,000 loan in which people were not making their payments. It's called non-performing. Would you want to buy this? Well, here's what I did. I made them an offer. I said, I'll buy that, but I'll only give you $47,500 for it. Because see, I figured the house is worth $80,000 just like it sits. And so I knew if I could get the mortgage for less than $50,000, I could stand to make a little money, right? So I offered them $47,500. They took it, but they said, you got to close in a week. We want all cash, okay? And I didn't buy the house. I bought the mortgage. So I bought the mortgage from the bank. And here's how I did it. A friend of mine is a nurse. And I went to her and I said, I know that you have a retirement account because we had talked about it before. And she had an IRA. And I said, I found this little mortgage note on a house in Georgia and I'd like to buy it. I need to borrow $47,500. If you would use your IRA to lend that to me, I'll pay you back with interest. And so she said, so how would that work? And I explained how it would work. And so she agreed to become my private lender. And here's the term. She says, I'll lend you $47,500 from my IRA. She said, I want 10% interest on my money, and I want 8% of the profit that you make on this deal. And I said, okay, I can live with that. And so that's what we structured, okay? And I said, but I don't want to have to make any monthly payments to you. The reason that I want to make monthly payments is because the house is vacant and I'm not collecting anything. So I don't want to have to pay you. I'll just pay you at the end everything that you're entitled to. She said, that's the deal. Let's do it. And she gave me 1 year to get in and out of this particular investment. All right. And so I purchased the note and the mortgage, and I gave her a lien on the note and the mortgage in this transaction. So that's how we structured it. So let's see how it worked out. Well, what I did to this house is I had to cut the grass because right after I bought the mortgage note, I got a letter from the city of Atlanta, and they said that if I didn't have the grass cut, they were going to start fining me. And so apparently at the time that I bought this, the grass was like waist high. The weeds, I guess you can call it, were waist high. And so I hired a company to go out there and cut the weeds down. It cost me about $400. But that's all I did. I didn't do anything else. And I told my realtor, list that place for sale. My realtor listed it for sale for $80,000. And within 48 hours, I had a cash offer for $77,000. First offer. He said, $77,000, we can close in about 10 days. And I said to my realtor, you know what? I know I could wait and hold out for 80, but let's just take this. And so I took it. I sold the place for $77,000. After paying my realtor, after paying closing costs and cutting the grass, I had about $7,500 in expenses. It took me 4 months to get in and out of this deal. And here's how I did it. I had to find the homeowners that had walked away from the property. My realtor helped me do that. We found the homeowners and we said, look, you owe us $130,000, but we don't want to foreclose on you and ruin your credit. So if you'll just sign the house over to us, we won't file foreclosure on you. And so that's what they did. They literally just signed the house over to us. They didn't want the house. They had already moved out, right? And so they signed the house over to us. That's how I got the property back. When I got it back, I sold the house for $77,000, paid $7,500 in expenses. The whole process took 4 months. And after paying back my partner, all expenses, there was a $22,000 profit made on this deal. Not too bad for 4 months' work of literally pushing paper around. Not one trip to Home Depot, not one trip to Lowe's. I didn't have to deal with any inspectors. I didn't have to deal with any contractors. Wow. But here's how it worked out for my private lender, my friend, right? She earned 10% of her money for the 4 months that I had it, which was $1,583. She also got another $1,760, which was 8% of the $22,000 profit. So she made a total of $3,300. Her money made $3,300 for her, and all she did was literally write a check. 3,300 bucks for writing a check and waiting. That's easy money for her. You see how powerful that is for her? That's why I'm saying you want to become a private lender as soon as you possibly can. If you put that into a financial calculator for her, her annualized return was 21%. 21% return. Where else would she make that kind of money inside her retirement account, guys? You see how powerful this is? This is a wonderful way to invest. Okay? Private lending is a great way to invest. You may be thinking to yourself that you don't have money to invest. Well, let me tell you, you've got money around you. There's money all around you. We all have money all around us all the time, unless you're homeless, right? But if you're not homeless, you have money around you. Maybe it's in equity in your real estate. Maybe it's in a retirement account. Maybe you sell something. You know, maybe you have a motorcycle in your garage that you hardly ever drive, or motorhome, your yard, or whatever, right? But there's money around. You can find it if you're looking for it. And we're talking about you getting your financial freedom here, guys. Is it worth making an effort to find it? I think so. Let me show you how it will work out for you if you were to, let's say you have equity in your real estate. You're going to like this. This is pretty amazing. Okay. You might even want to take notes on what I'm about to show you. Suppose you have equity in your real estate and you can pull $100,000 out of your real estate by taking out a home equity loan. And let's say you're paying 6% for your home equity loan, right? $100,000 times 6% means you're going to pay $6,000 a year in interest for using that money. That's 6% of $100,000, right? Simple math. Nothing complicated about that at all. Now, if you were to take that $100,000 and do a private loan at 8% to someone, right? Like a rehabber, someone flipping a house, or like someone buying a note, like my nurse friend did with me. If you were to loan that money at 8%, that's going to pay you $8,000 a year. So you're paying $6,000 a year, but you're collecting $8,000 a year. You literally are making a $2,000 profit every year on money that was sitting in your equity in your house, earning nothing. Equity doesn't pay you money, right? As a matter of fact, equity can go away. If your property value falls, that equity is going to be gone. And once that equity is gone, you can't borrow it anymore to even do this. So if you have equity, my suggestion is go borrow it right now as fast as you possibly can, because property values are starting to come down. You're going to start losing that equity. Go get your hands on it and put it to work in something like I'm showing you today. Okay. But here you'd have $2,000 a year profit on equity that was earning you zero before. You wonder why the rich get richer? Because rich people understand how money works. You don't let money sit around and do nothing. Even if it's just equity money, you put money to work. Here's $2,000 a year. Check this out, though. This is what's really gonna blow your mind. When you borrow $6,000, you're using other people's money. That's not even your money. It's your equity, but it's not even your money. You didn't have to take that from your savings. You didn't have to take that from your retirement account. You didn't have to take it from your family budget. It's money. You're using other people's money. And you're earning a $2,000 a year profit using their money following this strategy. Isn't that what banks do? When you deposit your money into the bank, they pay you 5% or 4% or 1% or whatever. And then they loan it to someone who wants to buy a car and they charge him 18% or 20%. They're earning the spread on your money. I'm simply saying, why don't you do it too? You're letting banks do it. Why aren't you doing it? Okay. You guys recognize this face? This is Albert Einstein, right? He talks about compounding profits. He said, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it, and he who doesn't pays it. So I'm asking you this question. What side of the compound interest equation are you on? The earning or the paid? Check this out. If you took out a financial calculator, like the one that I'm holding, I have one in my phone right here, right? You put in these numbers. You say, if I invest $100,000 at 8% per year for 30 years, what will it grow to? Right? You put that into a financial calculator, and here's what you're going to come up with. $100,000 will grow to $1 million over a 30-year period if you keep it working at 8%. And that's only 8%. I showed you two examples today. One of my investors made 11%, one made 21%. So I'm saying keep it working at 8%. How easy is that? Okay. Pretty darn easy. Pretty darn easy when you know when you're a private lender. You can keep your money working all the time. But here's what's interesting. The $100,000 that you borrowed with your line of credit, you're only going to pay them back a total of $216,000. You're going to pay them $216,000, and that includes your $100,000 going back to them, right? But that $100,000 is going to make you $1 million. So at the end of the day, when you subtract out the 216 from the $1 million that you made with the $100,000 over a 30-year period, your net worth is going to be $877,000 bigger because you borrowed your equity and put it to work at 8%. That's called financial intelligence. Financial intelligence. Nobody teaches you that. As I said at the beginning, the reason they don't teach this to you in school is because they don't know. They think, oh, I just want to pay off my house. What a dumb move that is. So now you have a house that's paid for. Big deal. Big deal. Unless your house is going to go to $1 million, it's going to go up by $1 million over the next 30 years, who knows? But here's a way you can make sure that you get $1 million in equity. And that's only with $100,000. Some of you guys watching this video probably have $200,000, $300,000 in equity right now that you could tap into. Okay? Some of you only have $50,000. So what? Take 50. So you have $500,000 in 30 years. You got to get started, right? You got to get started somehow. So that's the point that I want to make to you guys. And let me tell you guys, this is not magic. It's not magic. I just showed it to you. It's just simple math. You're borrowing money at 6%. You're lending it out at 8%. Hello, you're going to make a profit. Any fifth grader can tell you that. Okay? Your money is safe because the real estate that you're investing in, the deals you're investing in, that's your collateral. That's your collateral, right? So if this sounds intriguing to you, head on over to Note Investor University because you can learn more about how that stuff works. But I just want to share this with you because our podcast is called Invest Brilliantly. And I want to show you what that actually looks like, right? That's just one example of what investing brilliantly looks like. But you can't do this kind of an investment until you make the investment up here. Okay, you got to get it up here first. But it's not rocket science either. And if you're a reasonably intelligent person, 90 days, you can have it up here and you can start doing exactly what I just showed you and change your life. That's how I went from being literally broke during the last recession, 60 years old and broke, to being 65 years old and rich. And now I'm 70 and even richer. Guys, it's by doing this kind of thing. And so that's what I wanted to share with you guys today. I don't know if you have questions or anything. Mr. Producer, did you get any questions in your chat today? Maybe my explanation was so good that there are no questions, but if you did, let me just check here in the chat. Nikki says, are we talking about raising money from private lenders to buy notes? Well, Nikki, I was talking about people putting their money to work. People who don't necessarily want to become an investor. Like if you're talking about buying notes, you are the investor. Or if you're talking about flipping houses, you are the investor. What I was just talking about here is people who say, look, I love being a teacher. I love being a doctor. I love being a firefighter, whatever. I don't want to learn how to do notes. I don't want to learn how to flip houses. I don't want to have land. I don't want to be a landlord. I just want to put my money to work someplace safe where I can get a good return. And that's what I was talking. That's the people that I was addressing with this. Someone who says, I want to put my money to work someplace safe where I can get a good return. So thank you for your question. All right. Nikki from YouTube. Thank you, Nikki. Mr. Producer. If there are no other questions, Mr. Producer, what I'm going to do, let me see how we're doing on time here. Oh, good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just suggest to you guys again, and then we'll wrap this up, suggest to you that you head over to noteinvestoruniversity.com. Check out the options that are there so that you can learn some of this stuff. Um, there's a reason why some people are wealthy and some people are not, and it's not luck. I can assure you that if any of you guys were to take the things that I'm teaching here on this podcast, if you would take them seriously, there's not a single person listening to the sound of my voice that could not be wealthy in 5 years. The only reason that you wouldn't be is because you didn't want to. Because the opportunity is there for the taking right now. Even if you're starting with no money, you can do this, but you're going to have to be a little bit more active. For those of you that want to be passive, right, you can do private lending. For those of you that want to be active, then you can actually become an investor. Both are good options. It just depends on what you want, right? I'm an investor. I'm a professional investor. But I also do private lending now because I have money. So I lend money to people. I just got paid back. I lent some money to some people that were building two houses in Malibu, California. You guys know Malibu, right? That's where all the movie stars have their homes, right? Well, Malibu had a fire a few years back, and some of those mega mansions got burned down. And I found a couple of investors, or a couple of investors out there found me. They bought those vacant lots, and they were building some houses on them, and they needed some money. And so they came to me, and I funded their deals for them, just like these deals were funded for me. So I'm not telling you guys to do something that I don't do personally. I personally funded their deals for them. And I funded deals on multifamily. I funded deals on property flips. I have money out right now on property flips that people are buying houses, fixing them up, and then they pay me back when they sell. So I'm showing you how you can actually create passive income for yourself safely. I do it. I teach other people how to do it. And I really advise people to take some of your money, at least some of your retirement money, some of your savings, and put it into this. Take some of the equity in your real estate and put it into this. It's not something that you'll ever look back and say, why did I do that? That was stupid. That'll never happen. What'll likely happen is the same thing that happens for most people that do this. They go and they go, I should have done this way sooner. Right? I should have done this way sooner. All right. Well, you know what, guys? It looks like we don't have any other questions. Mr. Producer, how are we doing out there, brother?
We are blessed. I wanted to ask a question because somebody asked that I couldn't get it in.
Okay, Mr. Producer, have a
So
question. I'll
they
repeat the
wanted to
question.
know, where did you start in private lending?
Where did I start in private? I started in private lending as the borrower. Back in the day, I was the borrower and I was working with other people who were my lenders because I was flipping houses during the 80s, right? But as far as lending money goes, I, I started lending money as a private lender after I became an investor and I had extra money. Because when I first became an investor in the mortgage note space back in 2013, I didn't have any money. I had just come out of a tailspin, a financial tailspin. I was 60 years old and broke, and I didn't have any money to be a private lender. But I I started learning, right? I said it all starts right here, Mr. Producer. You got to get it in your brain. And so once you start to get the skills and the knowledge, that's when money starts to find you. And so money started to find me, and I started investing with people, partnering with people, buying um, buying real estate deals like that property that I just showed you guys, 2019, the one that I flipped in 2019. I had a partner in that on the construction side too, an investor partner with me, but I also had a money partner who funded the deal, right? So I had partners in that. I like to work with other people. But now that I have money, I do private lending as well.
Okay. So we have Erica Washington from YouTube, and she asks, is there a template you use for private lending?
Erica from Washington is asking, is there a template that I use for private lending? Um, you mean for the documents is what I'm assuming she's talking about, right?
I think she's asking if you teach how you do it.
Okay. Yeah, see, that's a broad question there. But yes, I do teach how I do it. But if you're talking about specifically a template for the documents themselves, yeah, you just have attorneys draft your documents. But as far as a model goes, maybe that's the word that I would normally use. This is my model, right? Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I have a model or a template of what I do. Absolutely, I do. Yeah, I do things. I'm a very methodical person. I like to do things. I work things out. I figure out how it works, and I make that system work well, and then I duplicate it. I do it again, and then I do it again, and I do it again. So yes, I work with templates and checklists and systems. I'm all about that. I hope that answers your question, Erica.
She has another question, and her question is: must private lenders be insured?
Insured, insured. Private lenders don't need to be insured, but the assets that they invest in you should insist as a private lender that those assets are insured with you as a private lender named as the beneficiary of any insurance proceeds. So, for example, if I was going to do a private loan like I did for those guys out in Malibu, I made sure they had insurance on those houses that they were building. And I made sure that on those insurance policy, I was listed as the lender so that I'm paid first if something were to happen out there and there was a claim. I'm paid first. If there's any money left, then they get it. Okay. But may I also talk about insurance on one other level? Mr. Producer, I do want to say this. I think that we should all be insured. And that wasn't always my mindset. And maybe next week, what I'll do is I'll talk about this next Thursday. I want to talk about the insurance aspect. But here's something that I learned after I became wealthy and I started hanging around with wealthy people. Okay, so who you hang around with, right? After I became wealthy and I started having wealthy friends, and some of them wealth for generations, not like me, new money. Their families were wealthy, their grandparents were wealthy, right? People like that. I learned something. I used to think that wealthy people left their children money, right? They inherit all this money. Here's what I learned. What they leave their children is insurance policies, life insurance policies that give their children money tax-free. That's what they do. They leave millions of dollars in life insurance for their family. They invest their money into apartment buildings, into office buildings, into shopping centers, into airplanes, into businesses. That's the kids will get that. But even if all of those investments fail, their family gets that life insurance policy with $5 million, $10 million, $20 million. That money will absolutely pass on to the next generation tax free. That's brilliant. And next week, I'm going to talk about that because I've set that up for my family too. I didn't know that that's how it happened. I used to think, oh, they left them all this money because they had all these assets. Well, maybe they'll get the assets too. But once you have these insurance policies, and I'm speaking from experience here, personal experience, once you have the insurance policies in place, you don't worry so much about your investments. I mean, if an investment does great, great. If it doesn't do well, that's okay. It's not that big of a deal because a big part of why we do what we do when we love our families is we want to leave something for our kids in the next generation. We want to leave them something. So what I have learned, wealthy people leave their families, their kids, something far more valuable than money. Yes, they leave them insurance proceeds, but they leave them financial intelligence. They show them how to use their money, how to invest their money, how to take equity out of deals, and how to put it to work at 8% and 10% and 12% and 21%. That's the legacy. You want to leave a legacy? That's the legacy you want to leave. Okay? So I'll talk about that next week, as a matter of fact. So those of you that can make it next Thursday, I will be talking about how to use life insurance to change your family's financial destiny, not just today, but for generations to come. All right? Any other questions? I see. Erica said we spoke back in March of 2019. It's been that long, huh, Erica? Well, I can tell you for sure back then I was just starting to get some good momentum. I had no idea where this was going to take me back then. I wish you had come along for the ride, Erica, because me and several other people that I had that hung in there with me have become wealthy at this stuff. And now I'm helping other people become wealthy doing the same things that we've done. So Yeah, you guys head on over to Note Investor University. You can find out more about me. You can find out more about our program. You can see if it's a fit for you. Okay. I even have a one-on-one coaching program, but I only take 3 people per quarter into that program. So that's a very exclusive program for people who say, "Hey, I want Desi, right? I want you to hold my hand, show me exactly what to do, show me where to step, where not to step, so that I can do what you've done." So I have that program available too for those of you that say, "I just really need my hand held, and I want to know that I'm going to succeed." For my coaching students that I work with, as I said, I only take 1 a month, so that's 3 per quarter. Because I don't want to work that hard. That's why I don't take more. I don't need to do it, but I do want to change some people's lives. I want to become a part of your story. And that's why I do even this. But I like doing this because it gives me a chance to speak to many people at once, as opposed to speaking to one person at a time. And I know that this will change the lives of those of you that take this seriously. Okay. So, hey guys, I want to ask you guys to do me a favor. I want you to share this with people that you know and bring some people back next week, Wednesday, especially your spouse. What I'm going to share with you next week is going to blow your mind. I'm going to show you how you can literally create a dynasty for your a financial dynasty for your family, starting wherever you are. You don't need a lot of money to do this. You can create a financial dynasty for your family that lasts for 360 years into the future. 360 years. I know because I've done it. I'm going to show you guys how that all works next week. So you want to bring some people here next week, and we're going to talk about setting up a dynasty trust and using life insurance policies to fund the trust. It's going to be pretty darn amazing, guys. You're going to love it, and you're going to say, "Wow, being rich is not impossible. As a matter of fact, it's totally doable. Becoming rich is totally doable." Okay, I really want to stress that to you guys. All right, I don't care where you're starting from, unless you're dumb. Unless you're a slow, some sort of an idiot, you can do what I'm going to be sharing with you guys next week, right? All right, well, I'm going to call it a day and wrap this up. Mr. Producer, thank you so much for helping me through this process today. I hope you guys that have watched this have gotten some value from it. And I hope to see you guys next Thursday, same time, 2:30 Pacific, 5:30 Eastern. And we're going to go through the next episode of the Invest Brilliantly podcast. God bless you all. See you all next week.